heaviest land animals have been vertebrates. This is because a heavy land animal needs a strong internal skeleton to support its weight, but there is a limit, and it is likely that the giant dinosaur, Dinosaurs, was as heavy as a land animal could possibly be. The only vertebrate that weighs more is the aquatic blue whale. Here. What is a dinosaur? The first dinosaurs evolved roughly 235 million years ago in the Middle Triassic period. Their ancestors were small, slender, archosaur reptiles that stood and walked with their legs underneath their bodies like mammals. This high walking stance was inherited by the dinosaurs and was one of the factors that allowed many of them to grow so big. Many dinosaurs, including all meat-eaters, stood on two legs, balanced by the weight of their long tails, but most of the bigger plant-eaters stood on four legs. They had all the anatomical features that we see in modern vertebrate animals. The fossil skeletons of all dinosaurs have a number of features that show they walked with their legs upright beneath their bodies. They have hinge-like ankle joints, and the tops of their thigh bones are angled inwards, just like ours, to fit into open hip sockets. Other features of the bones show clear evidence of powerful muscles. Inside a dinosaur. Because they lived so long ago, the Mesozoic dinosaurs are seen by many people as primitive animals. This is completely wrong. They thrived for 170 million years, and over that time, evolution refined their anatomy to the highest degree. Their bones, muscles, and internal organs were as efficient as those of any modern animal, allowing dinosaurs like this Tyrannosaurus rex to evolve into the most spectacular land animals that have ever lived. So let's have a look. Their eyes. The Tyrannosaurus had eyes that were as sharp as those of an eagle. Their brain. This was adapted for keen perception rather than high intelligence. The teeth. This killer's teeth were strong enough to crush bone. Jaws. Massively powerful jaws were vital for this big hunter. Their lungs were very efficient, like those of modern birds. Intestine. Meat-eaters had shorter intestines than plant-eaters. Hip bone. The massive pelvis of Tyrannosaurus was extremely strong. Skin. Dinosaur skin was scaly or covered with a layer of feathers. Thigh muscle. These muscles were as efficient as those of any modern hunter. Lower legs. Its slender lower legs made Tyrannosaurus quick on its feet for such a big animal. Stomach. A muscular stomach helped grind food in a pulp for easy digestion. Arms. Tyrannosaurus had tiny arms, but those of other dinosaurs were much longer and stronger. average global climate in the Mesozoic was much warmer than it is now, but it was constantly changing as continents moved north or south or split apart, and as the nature of the atmosphere was altered by events such as massive volcanic eruptions. Green planet. The green landscapes the Mesozoic animals lived in were not like those we know today. Until the Cretaceous period, there were no grasses, no flowers, very few trees with broad leaves, and few trees that lost their leaves in winter. So, for most of the Mesozoic era, there were no open grasslands, and many of the plants that grew in the forests and woodlands were of types that are now rare or even extinct. Catastrophe. The Mesozoic era ended with a mass extinction that wiped out the giant dinosaurs, pterosaurs, and many other animals. It was probably caused by an asteroid crashing into Central America, triggering a huge explosion and global chaos. But some mammals, birds, and other animals survived into a new era, the Cenozoic. In the late Jurassic, western North America was a land of lush forests with tall trees, browsed by long-necked sauropod dinosaurs. They were preyed on by hunters such as Allosaurus, shown here on the left. Triassic life. The Triassic period of Earth's long history started in chaos because the world was recovering from a global catastrophe that had wiped out much of the life on Earth. Among the survivors were the animals that were to give rise to the first dinosaurs, as well as flying pterosaurs and marine reptiles. The Triassic world. The dinosaurs appeared during the first period of the Mesozoic era, the Triassic. At this time, from 252 to 201 million years ago, most of the land on the planet was part of a single huge supercontinent surrounded by a near-global ocean. This gigantic landmass had formed during the preceding period, the Permian, which ended in a catastrophic mass extinction. This destroyed 96% of all species, and all the animals that evolved during the Triassic were descended from the survivors. The continents are constantly being dragged around the globe by the shifting plates of Earth's crust. They have come together and split apart in different ways many times, but during the Triassic, the land formed a vast supercontinent known as Pangaea. It came together some 300 million years ago, but during the late Triassic, the opening Tethys Ocean started to split it into two. So you can see the Tethys Ocean here, Pacific Ocean. So this is Pangaea, and the Antarctica, South America and North America, and Europe. Some parts of the modern continents, such as Western Europe, were flooded with rocks were ideal for seizing slippery fish, which were likely to have been its main prey, but when it was not hunting, it probably spent a lot of time on the shore. Placerias, built like hippopotamus and with similar long tusks, this chunky herbivore was one of the most common big animals of the late Triassic, the epoch that saw the appearance of the first dinosaurs. For several million years before the earliest plant-eating dinosaurs appeared, the most successful herbivores were a group of animals called Dinosaurs. Their name, meaning two-dog tooth, refers to their tusk-like upper canine teeth. Placerias also had a parrot-like beak, used for gathering leaves and plant stems. It weighed as much as a small car, but was moderately sized compared to a dicynodont called Lyssawikia, discovered in 2018, which was as big as an elephant. Iraptor. This was one of the earliest dinosaurs, a small, light and agile animal no bigger than a fox and possibly with a similar way of life. Most dinosaurs at this time resembled Iraptor. It was only later that they evolved their spectacular variety of forms. Discovered in the Triassic rocks of Argentina in 1991, the fossil bones of this animal were soon identified as those of a meat-eater. It clearly had sharp teeth and claws, since most later dinosaurs with these features were theropods. Its finders decided that Iraptor was a theropod too, an ancestor of the giant hunters such as Tyrannosaurus rex, but experts continued to disagree over the way early dinosaurs like Iraptor were related to later types. Some have argued that this little dinosaur might be more closely related to the group that includes the colossal, long-necked, plant-eating sauropods. Postosuchus. Although he looks like a dinosaur, this ferocious predator was a close relative of the crocodiles. It was one of a group of reptiles that dominated life in the Triassic before the dinosaurs took over. The biggest, most powerful land predators of the late Triassic were reptiles called Rorquals. Postosuchus was one of the biggest. It probably stood on its hind legs, like a predatory dinosaur, rather than like a crocodile, and may have been almost as agile. It would have preyed on any dinosaurs it could catch, as well as dicynodonts such as Placerias. In this scene, sunlight gleams through the trees, flooding the forest floor with light. The loud noise of a massive sauropod rearing up to take a mouthful of smaller and lighter than the sauropods, though Plateosaurus was one of the biggest. They walked on their hind legs and used their hands to gather food. Plateosaurus seems to have been quite common in the region that is now northern and central Europe. Scientists have found more than 100 well-preserved skeletons since the first fossils were discovered in Germany in 1834. Eudomorphodon. Apart from dinosaurs, the most intriguing animals of the Mesozoic era were the flying reptiles or pterosaurs. This airborne hunter was one of the earliest discovered so far. In many ways, the crow-sized Eudomorphodon was typical of early pterosaurs, with its long bony tail and long jaws studded with sharp teeth. Like all pterosaurs, it flew on wings that were sheets of stretched skin and thin muscle, each supported by the bones of the arm and a single extra long wing finger, as well as stiffening fibres. The other three fingers formed a mobile grasping hand at the bend of each wing. This animal's long wings indicate it was a capable flyer that probably hunted on the wing. Isanosaurus. Some of the most famous dinosaurs, and certainly the biggest, were the colossal long-necked sauropods that supported their immense weight on four legs. Isanosaurus was one of the earliest, much smaller than the later giants, but with the same basic body plan. The first sauropodomorphs were small, agile animals. They gave rise to larger, heavier types such as Plateosaurus, which were specialised for eating plants, but still walked on two legs. Towards the end of the Triassic, these were replaced by true sauropods like the Isanosaurus, which walked on all fours but could still rear up on the hind legs to feed. Okay, so I